Our next segment is extra special to me and lies at the center of everything we do here at IGP, modeling civil discourse. Our speakers, Jonathan Lavine, who is the Chair Emeritus of Columbia's Board of Trustees, and Victor Mendelson, a trustee, met as college students at Columbia way back in the late 1980s.
Way back.
Yeah. One is a self-identified Democrat, the other a self-identified Republican. They told me how much they disagree with one another, and believe me, I've seen it firsthand, but also how often that disagreement reveals how much they are aligned on big ideas. Columbia gave them the space to disagree and was foundational to the start of their lifelong friendship. The two of them really inspired me, truly inspired me, to make modeling civil discourse an explicit mission of IGP, and from the beginning, they have been huge supporters. And for that, Victor, Jonathan, we are so grateful. Please join me in welcoming Jonathan and Victor, who will be joined on stage by their former teacher and mentor, Ester Fuchs, one of the most beloved professors here at SIPA, who directs Columbia's Urban and Social Policy program. It was in her class, how many years ago was it, that they first met. And I'm really grateful for Ester for being with us and for all of the support from day one. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Victor, for offering your insights into the value of productive disagreement.
Wow, thank you, Karen. I think we all know what an incredible job you have been doing with your leadership at SIPA and this event. It's extraordinary, and we're a small part of it, and really happy to be here today. This is such an important issue, I know, to everybody in this room, modeling civil discourse, because our democracy in the United States and globally is being challenged in every way. And the university, as Karen has so easily pointed out, should be at the center of all of this. We don't just do research and education. We have to be a place that reinforces institutions of democratic governance. And the university needs to be a place where discourse is not, capital N-O-T, shut down. I've seen that too many times. Where we can have a difficult conversation, both faculty and students, in the classroom and in the hallways. Unfortunately, in 2023, if we don't actively work on promoting civil conversations, information silos and intolerance will become the norm. So I have to once again say thank you to Karen for her leadership on this. She's made the commitment that SIPA will be the center of this work. And today, I get to begin this conversation with two of my favorite, yes, I'm going to say that, I hope other people are not listening, former students, Jonathan Lavine and Victor Mendelson. And I want to start the conversation by asking both of you, and I know that we'll have to start with Jonathan, Victor, so it's just how it is.
Well, he's older.
Yes, he is. Okay, that's fair. I want to ask you about the origin story. It's not like you're superheroes in a comic book or anything like that, but there is an origin story here, and it's relevant to Columbia, and I think it's important.
Sure. Thank you all for gracing us with your presence after 2 Nobel Prize winners. And the break, Victor and I were worried we were going to speak to an empty room. And
Our wives are here, at least.
Right, yes. And Secretary Clinton,
You
you
forgot
said...
that I was on this podium. I don't have empty rooms.
That's right. And Secretary Clinton, you said you hadn't been teaching in over 50 years. That is true of neither me nor Victor. We have not taught in 50 years either. So Victor and I met in 1985 in Professor Fuchs' class. And it was politics and elections, I believe. And we immediately recognized that we were people who would be friends under so many things. We cared about the same things. We had the same approach to family. But it was also clear that we just had completely different political views. And if you remember, Ronald Reagan was president there, and we disagreed a little bit on some of his accomplishments. But we developed a friendship that is somewhat based on humor. It is somewhat based on good cheer. And over the years, we have, as I have said before, we started a debate that continues to this day. And there are people who say, how can you be so friendly with somebody who has such different political views? And I say two things. One, we want the same things. We just disagree on how to get there. And two, it is really important people like us model good behavior, because there are studies that show on college campuses today, like, you have a higher likelihood of being friends with a Martian than somebody with a different political view than you have. And that is just unacceptable. That is not why people come to Columbia. And I would also tell you that Columbia has a perception of being a left-leaning school. I don't know where they get that. Victor is...
Not in my class.
That's right.
Didn't happen then.
And this is something we've thought about on the trustees. We think about making sure we are not all monolithic politically. And Victor actually chairs the trusteeship committee, which helps sort through and how we nominate trustees. And he is somebody who cares deeply about Columbia, and his political affiliations don't matter to us, as he does an awesome job doing that.
So does that really comport with your memory? I mean, you've sort of jumped ahead, as you always did in class, which is answer more questions than I asked, but we'll let you get away with that now. And Victor, does this comport with your memory of things?
Not in the least. It absolutely does. That's absolutely right. I think I remember Secretary Clinton, you're saying during 2016 era that there's more which unites us than divides us. I don't know if I have it verbatim, but that's essentially it. And I think that's the truth. And we have this tendency, people have a tendency to focus on our differences instead of our similarities. And if we spend some time focusing on our similarities, it doesn't mean that we are somehow sacrificing our core beliefs. I mean, there was this debate, of course, that saw some resolution, at least temporarily, over the weekend, and there's this idea that if people compromise, they compromise their core values, which is not the case. So we always shared those values, and we're both business people, and we spend a lot of time compromising, right? Every day. And if you're dealing with your customers, they want to pay less, you want to charge them more. If you're dealing with your vendors, they want to charge you more, you want to pay them less. If you're making an acquisition, there are all sorts of terms to be negotiated, and everybody wants it their way. But at the end of the day, we get things done by compromising and moving forward.
And just one thing, this is not a novel thing. Obviously, Victor and I didn't invent this. I would tell you, and I've told you this before, in 1993, I was hired at a small firm by Mitt Romney, and I had Clinton for president on my resume. And he hired me. It's not like he saw, oh, this is a Democrat, we don't hire Democrats. And when you look around the table, when you look around the trustees, when you look around normal people's day-to-day activities, they actually, most of the time, don't think about political party.
Well, I'm a perennially optimistic person. And I think, wouldn't have stayed in a university setting for as long as I have had I not been. But I want to frame something to both of you because, a lot of your approach to this has been through friendship. And so part of the challenge is how do you build that friendship? How do we get to those spaces You know, being an academic, I have to quote a Pew Research Center study that says the share of Americans who say having political conversations with those they disagree with is stressful and frustrating has increased in recent years, and currently 6 out of 10 say they find these conversations extremely stressful. That's always over 60%. People cannot even have the conversation now. I mean, we're in this kind of very difficult situation. So I want to really ask you about the nitty-gritty things that you both have done to ensure that you still have a friendship, but can still have these conversations.
I think humor plays a role in it, as you mentioned earlier, Jonathan, that we make some jokes, we'll laugh about it, and we're respectful of each other. And I think I at least admire Jonathan and respect him. Not sure it goes the other way, but and I know that there's a point at which to stop, right? There's a point that we take the arguments and we stop at a certain point. We crack the jokes, we make our points, we rib each other, but we never let it get to the point where it's bitter. And I think you can attack the ideas without attacking the person, and that's the key.
Victor, let the record show you just got an ovation started by Secretary Clinton. His father's going to disown him now.
I hope there's no video here. Thank you.
I would say part of it is, too, it's your job. It's the job of the faculty here. It's why Columbia College has the core curriculum. It is why, it's why Jeannie and I watched the debate the other night. On first, I had to figure out how to get to Fox News, but
Just come to my house, you'll see it.
apparently you can find it. You can find it if you. I had to download a
I watched
streaming
the
app.
debate too.
Right, but you can't turn away. And Victor and I truly believe you can't turn away. And it is so easy to go inward, and professors have to make students feel a little bit uncomfortable. They have to almost make them argue positions that would not be their natural comfort zone. And you did that with us. You were talking, at the time it was controversial, about criminal justice but reform back in 1985 when you took an entire class to Rikers Island to show us.
I did that. I wouldn't do that anymore.
Was this the manifestation of what we wanted as our society to be? Victor and I both agreed that was not the manifestation of what we thought a good and functioning society would be. But the faculty do need to lead the students in a way that I know is really hard. But you have to.
I think you're right. I think the faculty has an important role here. I think the university in general has an important role, and we've abdicated to a certain extent our responsibilities in ensuring that students have this opportunity to do what you both have done, which is have conversations with people that you don't fundamentally agree with on political issues, but in fact you find other ways to agree and have the discourse.
I can tell you a story. Our kids graduated from the college here over the last few years, and our oldest one, or middle one, went to a birthday party here. A friend invited a birthday party, and she goes in the room, and she was involved with the Republican Club here. She was one of the 4 members. And anyway, she was involved with the Republican Club. And she walks in and she overhears someone tell the hostess, I can't believe you invited a Republican. And, that's not productive. And that's the sort of thing you're talking about. We have to have the atmosphere where everyone feels welcome to express their views, because that's how we get solutions. We can't sort of censor out the views and then not have the solutions.
So what are your practical suggestions at this point? I know this is a hard question. I'm putting you both on the spot because, frankly, there are faculty here who don't do what you're suggesting they do. There are students who are closed down. I think, SEPA, we're very lucky. We have such a global population. We have such diversity. And that's insulated us to a certain extent. But, we've had our share of issues here as well. But frankly, at the college, it's much more difficult to do this. And, I don't know how successful I'd be teaching that course in elections and American politics with a very diverse student body at the time and dealing with very complex, challenging issues. It's not on the roster anymore. Nobody else has picked it up to teach it. So what are some practical things that you both would suggest?
So I'm the Democrat, just in case you didn't get that, because they didn't announce us independently. But I also believe in markets, and I believe markets work. The market for talent, the market for professors. You had a following. Professor Hamilton had a following.
He did.
There could not be a more progressive professor than Charles V. Hamilton, who was a civil rights icon. And yet, he heard the conservative students in our class, in this building, by the way, that I had him. And I do think the faculty need to speak up, need to go the other way. And I think that that will draw people to the popular professors, because I've never been a professor, but you want to be somewhat popular. You don't want to teach to an empty room, but you don't want to pander to a particular point of view.
But what's the responsibility of students? What is the responsibility of students?
I think we have to make it clear to our students that they can't shout down the speakers, that they can't shout down their opponents, and they have to listen, and they have to be patient and go through this process. And it's incumbent on the faculty as well to stand firm and say, no, we're not going to be shouted down. And the administration as well to say, no, this isn't going to be tolerated. And in instances when it involves disciplinary action, that's fine too. I mean, we have to set the example and stand firm and not be pushed around to avoid our own conversations.
And while I don't disagree with much of what you said, I probably have a slightly different approach to that, which is, I think it starts with how students are integrate into the undergraduate institutions here, and make sure that there are literally trainings on this is how we think about things, this is how we talk about things, this is, I was talking to the chair of another Ivy League school who had been president of a small college, and she said, you tell everyone that they're like God's gift. They get into schools that have 3% admission rates and things like that, and they are certain that they are right in their views. And therefore, something around how orientation and, on the list of how you behave as a college student, we have a whole series of things on gender misconduct, on how you behave as a student, on those types of things. And we need to do that stuff.
Well, I know we could go on for a very long time with this conversation. I feel so lucky, really, just to be here at SEPA. I have to say, having Secretary Clinton here is just an extraordinary thing for all of us faculty and students alike. I just hope you know that. It's just blown fresh air into this building in a way you cannot imagine. And the two of you, you've done the same thing in this conversation. I just want you to know that, because coming here, being a Republican and a Democrat on the same stage, showing how it's been done for 35 years, I don't know, that just makes me feel like optimistic about the future. And I think we're going to all work hard and do this together. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you. You set a great example a few years ago with us, and we're really grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Deeply indebted.
I'm so happy.